Some people never look back. Others never stop looking back. Wisdom knows when to do each. Last week, we reflected on 100 Sundays. It wasn't for the purpose of celebrating a milestone, but to recognize something much more meaningful. How quietly our lives can change. Today, I'd like to take one more step on that journey. The point is not to stay in the past, but to learn from it. Because sometimes the clearest view of where we're going comes after we've paused long enough to see where we've been. But before we begin, let's take a slow breath together. In and out. Again, in and out. Now allow yourself to fully arrive in this moment. You're not sitting in yesterday and you're not jumping into tomorrow. Just here. Just be here now. Because wisdom is rarely found in rushing. However, it is often found in noticing. Imagine a traveler climbing a winding hill. The trail twists through trees and over rocks. At times it's steep and at times it's smooth. But for most of the climb, the traveler can only see the next few steps. Their attention is fixed on the path immediately ahead. One foot, then another. They aren't thinking about how far they've come. They're simply trying to keep moving. And then finally, after hours of climbing, they reach the summit. Almost instinctively, they turned around. And for the first time, they see the valley below, the winding trail, the forest they walked through, the river they crossed, the distance they covered. But nothing about the journey has changed. The only thing that's changed is their perspective. But they don't stay on the summit. The purpose of the view wasn't to stop the journey. It was to help them understand it. So after taking it all in, they turn around once more and continue walking. You know, life is often like that. When we're living through difficult seasons, our focus naturally narrows. We concentrate on the next conversation or the next decision, the next bill, the next appointment, or the next step. We're simply trying to keep moving. And because we're so focused on what's immediately in front of us, we often miss what those experiences are shaping within us. And it's only later, when we pause, do we begin to connect the dots. Steve Jobs once said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And I've always appreciated that insight, not because it encourages us to live in the past, but because it reminds us that perspective often arrives after experience. And here's where I think many of us struggle. Some people never look back. They're always chasing the next goal, the next opportunity, the next chapter, or they never pause long enough to recognize how much they've grown. On the other hand, there are others who never stop looking back. They replay old conversations, old mistakes, their old successes, those old disappointments, or their old identities. And for them, yesterday quietly becomes home. Yet neither extreme leads us where we want to go. Wisdom, however, knows when to do each. There is a time to reflect, and there is also a time to keep walking. After recording 100 episodes of Your Sunday Setup, I found myself looking back. Not because I wanted to relive those Sundays, but because I wanted to understand them. I realized something I couldn't have seen while I was recording them week after week. Each episode wasn't simply preparing us for another Monday. And that was the goal when I set out. But together, they were quietly shaping a way I was living, and hopefully a way you've been living. And I couldn't fully appreciate that until I stopped long enough to look back. And maybe you've experienced something similar. Perhaps there's a challenge that made you stronger than you realized. It could have been a season that taught you something you couldn't have learned any other way, or a conversation that changed your direction. Maybe it was a disappointment that eventually became a blessing. Looking back doesn't change what happened, but it can completely change what it means, or your perception of what it means. If today's episode encouraged you, I'd be grateful if you'd like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need this reminder this week. Every share helps this community continue to grow. And if you'd like a simple way to carry this practice into your week, take a look at the Mindful 5 Mindful Moments digital card deck. It's designed to help you pause, reflect, and reconnect with yourself in 5 minutes or less. No meditation experience is required, just one intentional moment at a time. You can learn more at themindful5.com/card deck. This week, I'd like to invite you to spend a few quiet minutes reflecting. Not to revisit old pain, and not to become stuck in nostalgia. Simply to learn. And you'll do this by asking yourself, what has my journey been trying to teach me? What part of my past deserves gratitude? What part of my past deserves release? And perhaps most importantly, what is my next intentional step? And that last question is because reflection is only complete when it helps us move forward more wisely. As I reflect on these questions myself, 3 simple thoughts keep returning. Honor what has shaped you. Be fully present to where you are. Intentionally choose where you're going. Those 3 practices have a way of changing not only how we begin our weeks, but how we live our lives. So, wherever this Sunday finds you, don't be afraid to look back. Just don't forget why you're looking. It's not to stay there. It's not to become trapped by what was, but it is to better understand who you've become and who you're still becoming. So, take in the view. Offer thanks for the journey, and then turn around once more toward the path ahead, because your story is still being written. I'll see you next Sunday, and until next time, take care.